Welcome to the 1022 Companion. Today we're going to show how to replace a KID charging assembly in a 1022. So far all I've done is I've removed the stock, and to do that I have decocked the hammer and centered the safety. So in order to make it easy to get the trigger group out, I'm going to recock the hammer and put the safety on safe. That makes it easy to pop these two pins out. And there's our trigger guard. I also need to pop out the bolt buffer. Here I have a polyurethane bolt buffer, which I prefer to the standard steel pins because it's quieter and a little bit softer on recoil. And so here we have the bolt. To remove the bolt, I'm going to pull the bolt all the way back. I'm going to hold it in place with my index finger and put another finger on top of the front of the guide rod. And then I'm going to lift with my index finger until the bolt handle is free to slide forward. Then I'm going to turn the receiver over and allow the bolt to drop free. And now I can remove the guide rod assembly from the receiver. Now the way to do that, if you just pull on the outside of the handle, it'll bind. So you have to pull it from inside and put a little bit of forward pressure on the handle so that the handle stays aligned and doesn't dig into the guide rod as you slide it back. Then we need to pull it gently out the ejection port and slowly let the handle come out. And there's our guide rod. Notice that this is different from the charging assembly that comes standard from Ruger. In the Ruger assembly, the end of the rod has been hit with a hammer in order to hold the handle in place, and it can't come off. So you have a single assembly here. This is easier to work with, but it doesn't have the advantages of the KID product. Now, to reinstall the KID charging assembly, first we put the charging rod and spring in through the ejector port and seat it in the well in the receiver. And then we want to slide our spring onto the rod. Notice I'm doing that with my left hand, and I'm holding it in place with my right hand thumb and index finger. That way I can take my bolt handle, slide that over the guide rod, and then push the whole thing into the receiver so that the handle can't fall off the guide rod because now it's captured by the front of the receiver. Now I can reinstall the bolt in the normal way. I will pull backwards from the inside with my index finger while pushing slightly forward on the handle to keep it aligned so it goes smoothly. Hold it in place. Put my bolt in front first. That way it'll clear the rail inside the receiver. And then gently allow the handle to go forward until it falls into the slot and the bolt is installed. Reinstall our bolt buffer. Yes, that's my beagle in the background. Reinstall the trigger group. Here's a note on the trigger group. I installed a little strip of electrical tape on the side of the ejector, and that holds the ejector into its slot so it can't come loose. Because sometimes I've seen people try to install their trigger group and the ejector has fallen backwards. That causes all kinds of problems if you allow it to go in that way. So here's our trigger group. One pin, 2 pin. All I have to do is install the stock and we're ready to shoot. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful.